After being sworn into the world's most powerful office again, Donald Trump will have the afternoon to settle back into power before a series of inauguration balls. He'll start his term in the president's room at the Capitol, where he'll sign documents nominating people to positions within his administration. Later in the day, there'll be a second signing ceremony in the Oval Office. If he follows through on campaign promises, it'll be a flying start. Expect to hear a lot about executive orders. These are directives of the president about how the federal government is managed. In the first day of his term, Joe Biden signed 17 executive orders. That's far more than his predecessors. And there are signals that the incoming White House plans to move even faster, already planning as many as 100 executive orders. What might those first orders be? During the campaign, Trump made scores of promises about the things he'd do on day one. The easiest, to repeal some of Joe Biden's executive orders, just as Biden did to his 4 years ago. Trump has said he'd revoke Biden's orders around background checks for gun purchases and diversity, equity and inclusion in the federal workforce. But the topic he's spoken about the most is immigration. He said on day one, he would end birthright citizenship and...
We will begin, and we have no choice, the largest deportation operation in American history. We have no choice. On my first day back in the White House, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration.
He might also look to make changes to electric vehicle standards, energy policies and offshore drilling rules.
It'll be done immediately, and we will drill, baby, drill.
He's talked about pardoning some of the people involved in the January 6th riots 4 years ago. Some of these orders may not be within his authority. They might be challenged in court and could be struck out. Indeed, it's pretty clear that some of the things he said he'd do on day one would be overturned. He's promised to cut funding to schools on day one if they allow discussions about race, gender or sexual orientation that he deems inappropriate, or if they have vaccine or mask mandates. But cutting federal funding would require congressional approval. He's also made day one promises to ban transgender women from participating in women's sports and to ban gender-affirming surgeries for minors. Expect both of those, if they happened, to be challenged in the courts. He could make those orders anyway. They'd be briefly in effect and he'd be able to test out the limits of the law and gauge how much latitude the Supreme Court will give him. Plus, signing these controversial orders sends a political message to his conservative base, even if those orders aren't allowed to stand. And we might see some climate hokey-pokey. In his first term, Trump pulled the USA out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Biden put them back in. And Trump's campaign has said the returning president would pull them straight back out. Again, shaking the international community all about. Given Donald Trump's flair for the dramatic, there could be some surprises too. If there really are 100 planned executive orders in the works, it's going to be a busy few weeks.